My name is Alaric and I'm 46 years old. I work as an architect in Minneapolis. My life until recently felt like a well-designed building, solid, stable, and aesthetically pleasing. I had a beautiful wife, Rowena, a comfortable home in the suburbs, and a career I genuinely enjoyed. We had been married for 15 years, and while the initial spark had mellowed into a warm, steady flame, I believed we were happy. Or at least I thought I did. It started subtly. Rowena, who works as a marketing manager, began staying late at the office more frequently. At first, I didn't think much of it. Work gets busy, deadlines loom, and sometimes you just have to put in the extra hours. But then the late nights became a regular occurrence, and I noticed other changes. Rowena became more distant, less affectionate. Our conversations dwindled, and when we did talk, it felt strained, forced. She seemed preoccupied, her mind elsewhere. I'm not a naturally suspicious person. I tend to trust people until they give me a reason not to. But a nagging feeling began to creep into my mind, a sense that something was wrong. I tried to dismiss it, telling myself I was being paranoid, that I was letting my insecurities get the better of me. But the feeling persisted, growing stronger with each passing day. One evening, Rowena told me she had to go to a conference in Chicago for a few days. It wasn't unusual for her to travel for work, so I didn't question it. I helped her pack, drove her to the airport, and kissed her goodbye. "I'll miss you," I said, genuinely meaning it. "I'll miss you too," she replied, but her voice lacked the warmth it once had. As soon as she was gone, the nagging feeling returned with a vengeance. I couldn't shake it off. I felt like I was living in a fog, a sense of unease hanging over me. I tried to distract myself with work, but my mind kept wandering back to Rowena, to her distant behavior, to the late nights at the office. That night I couldn't sleep. I tossed and turned in bed, my mind racing. Finally, around 3 a.m., I got up and went downstairs. I wandered into the living room, aimlessly flipping through channels on the TV. Nothing could hold my attention. In a moment of impulse, I found myself heading to Rowena's home office. I knew it was wrong, that I was invading her privacy, but I couldn't stop myself. I had to know. I had to find out what was going on. Her desk was tidy as always. A few papers were neatly stacked, a pen holder filled with colorful pens, and a framed photo of us from our wedding day. I hesitated for a moment, feeling a surge of guilt. Was I really going to do this? Was I really going to snoop through my wife's personal belongings? I pushed the guilt aside and started searching. I went through her drawers, finding nothing but office supplies and personal items. Then I noticed her laptop sitting on the desk. It was password protected, but I knew her password, our anniversary date. I typed it in and the laptop unlocked. I opened her email account, hoping to find some clue, some explanation for her recent behavior. I scrolled through her inbox, but most of the emails were work-related. Then I saw one that caught my eye. It was from a name I didn't recognize. Lysander. The subject line read, "Missing you." My heart skipped a beat. I clicked on the email and my blood ran cold. It was a love letter, a passionate, intimate love letter. Lysander wrote about how much he missed Rowena, how he couldn't wait to see her again, how he longed to be with her. He mentioned their secret getaway and how they were meant to be together. I felt like I had been punched in the stomach. The room started spinning and I had to grab onto the desk to steady myself. My wife, my Rowena, was having an affair. I scrolled through the rest of the emails, each one a dagger twisting in my heart. They had been seeing each other for months. They had gone on secret trips together. They had exchanged countless messages filled with love and desire. I felt a wave of nausea wash over me. I stumbled to the bathroom and vomited. I couldn't believe what I was reading. My entire world was crumbling around me. After a while, I managed to pull myself together. I washed my face and went back to the office. I needed to find out more. I needed to know the truth. I went through her browser history and my heart sank even further. There were searches for hotels in Chicago, restaurants, and tourist attractions. But then I found something else, something that made my blood run cold. A search for one-way tickets to Europe. I clicked on the link and there it was, a one-way ticket to Paris, leaving the day after her conference. My Rowena wasn't just having an affair, she was planning to leave me. She was planning to run away with this Lysander and start a new life. I felt a surge of anger, a rage I had never experienced before. How could she do this to me? How could she betray me in such a cruel and calculated way? I had given her everything. I had loved her unconditionally. And this is how she repaid me. I slammed the laptop shut and stormed out of the office. I paced around the house, my mind racing, my emotions in turmoil. I felt like I was going crazy. I knew I couldn't stay in the house. I needed to get out to clear my head to try to make sense of what was happening. I grabbed my keys and went for a drive. I drove aimlessly for hours, not knowing where I was going. I just needed to escape, to get away from the pain and the betrayal. Eventually, I found myself at a park overlooking the Mississippi River. I parked the car and got out, walking to the edge of the bluff. I stared out at the water, feeling numb and empty. As the sun began to rise, I started to think more clearly. I knew I couldn't let Rowena get away with this. I couldn't let her destroy my life and run off with her lover without facing the consequences. I decided to confront her. I would wait for her to come home from her conference and demand the truth. I would make her explain her actions and face the pain she had caused. I drove back home, feeling a sense of grim determination. I knew it wouldn't be easy, but I was prepared to fight for my marriage, for my life. When Rowena arrived home, she seemed surprised to see me. "Alaric, what are you doing here?" she asked, her voice sounding strained. "I know everything," I said, my voice cold and hard. "I know about Lysander, I know about the affair. I know about the one-way ticket to Paris." Her face paled. "Alaric, I can explain," she stammered. "Explain what?" I demanded. "Explain how you could betray me in such a cruel and heartless way. Explain how you could lie to me for months. Explain how you could plan to leave me and run off with another man." She started to cry. "I didn't mean to hurt you," she sobbed. "It just happened. I fell in love with him." "Fell in love?" I scoffed. "Is that what you call it? You call it falling in love? You call sneaking around behind my back, lying to my face, and planning to abandon me falling in love?" "I know it was wrong," she said, "but I couldn't help it. He makes me feel alive. He makes me feel like I'm young again." "And what about me?" I asked, my voice trembling with anger. "How do you think I feel? Do you think I deserve this? Do you think I deserve to be treated like this?" She didn't answer. She just stood there crying, her face filled with guilt and shame. "I want you to leave," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. "I want you to pack your things and get out of my house." "Alaric, please," she begged. "Don't do this. I can change. I can make things right." "It's too late," I said. "You've broken my trust, and I don't think I can ever forgive you." She left that day, taking her belongings and her secrets with her. I watched her go, feeling a mixture of sadness, anger, and relief. The next few months were the hardest of my life. I felt like I was living in a nightmare, a constant state of grief and pain. I couldn't eat, I couldn't sleep, and I couldn't concentrate on anything. I went to therapy, talked to friends and family, and tried to find ways to cope with the pain. Slowly, gradually, I started to heal. I filed for divorce, and it was finalized a few months later. I sold our house and moved into a smaller apartment in the city. I started to focus on my work, throwing myself into my projects and finding solace in my creativity. One day, a few months after the divorce, I received a phone call from an unknown number. I hesitated before answering, but curiosity got the better of me. "Hello," I said. "Alaric, it's Rowena," said the voice on the other end. My heart skipped a beat. "What do you want?" I asked, my voice cold. "I need your help," she said, her voice sounding desperate. "My help?" I scoffed. "Why would I help? You're the one who destroyed our marriage. You're the one who betrayed me." "I know," she said, "and I'm sorry. I made a mistake, a big mistake." "What do you want, Rowena?" I asked, my patience wearing thin. "Lysander left me," she said. "He left me for another woman. I'm all alone and I have nowhere to go." I felt a pang of sympathy for her, but I quickly pushed it aside. She had made her choices and now she had to live with the consequences. "I'm sorry to hear that," I said, "but I can't help you. You made your bed, now lie in it." I hung up the phone, feeling a sense of closure. I knew it wasn't right to feel happy about her misfortune, but I couldn't help it. She had hurt me deeply, and now she was paying the price. I never heard from Rowena again. I don't know what happened to her, and I don't care. I've moved on with my life. I'm still healing, but I'm stronger now. I've learned a valuable lesson about trust, betrayal, and the importance of knowing your worth. I'm not sure if I'll ever get married again, but I'm open to the possibility of finding love again. I know there are good people out there, people who are capable of honesty, loyalty, and commitment, and I'm determined to find one of them. I was at a gallery opening when I saw her. It was a small, intimate affair, showcasing the works of a local artist. I had come alone, hoping to find some inspiration and perhaps strike up a conversation with someone interesting. As I was admiring a particularly striking piece of abstract art, I felt a presence beside me. I turned to see a woman with warm eyes and a gentle smile. "That's quite captivating, isn't it?" she said, her voice soft and melodic. "It is," I replied. "I'm Alaric, by the way." "Ingrid," she responded, extending her hand. Her touch was light and pleasant. We spent the rest of the evening talking, discussing art, life, and everything in between. I found myself drawn to her intelligence, her kindness, and her genuine interest in what I had to say. As the evening drew to a close, I knew I wanted to see her again. "Would you be free for dinner sometime this week?" I asked, feeling a flutter of nervousness. "I would love that," she said, her smile widening. "How about Wednesday?" We exchanged numbers, and I walked home feeling a sense of hope I hadn't felt in a long time. Our first date was magical. We went to a small Italian restaurant in the North Loop, and the conversation flowed effortlessly. I told her about my work, my passions, and even touched on my past, careful to avoid dwelling on the painful details of my divorce. Ingrid listened attentively, offering words of encouragement and understanding. She shared her own stories, her own dreams, and her own vulnerabilities. I felt like I was connecting with her on a deep and meaningful level. Over the next few months, Ingrid and I became inseparable. We explored the city together, visited museums, attended concerts, and cooked dinners at each other's apartments. I found myself falling in love with her slowly but surely. She was everything Rowena wasn't: honest, compassionate, and fiercely loyal. She valued my opinions, supported my ambitions, and made me feel like the most important person in the world. One evening, as we were sitting on my balcony, watching the sunset over the city, I knew I had to tell her how I felt. "Ingrid," I said, taking her hand in mine, "I'm in love with you." Her eyes sparkled with happiness. "I'm in love with you too, Alaric," she said, leaning in to kiss me. It was a kiss filled with tenderness, passion, and the promise of a future together. We continued to date for another year, building a strong and loving relationship. I learned to trust again, to open my heart to someone new, and to believe in the possibility of a happy ending. One sunny afternoon, as we were walking through the sculpture garden, I stopped and turned to face her. "Ingrid," I said, getting down on one knee, "will you marry me?" Her eyes filled with tears of joy. "Yes, Alaric," she said. "Yes, I will marry you." We were married a few months later in a small, intimate ceremony surrounded by our closest friends and family. It was the happiest day of my life. I had found love again, a love that was stronger, more genuine, and more fulfilling than anything I had ever known before. I had learned that even after the most devastating betrayal, it is possible to heal, to move on, and to find happiness again. And as I stood there holding Ingrid's hand, I knew that my life, like a well-designed building, was once again solid, stable, and aesthetically pleasing. But this time, it was built on a foundation of trust, honesty, and love. I learned later, through a mutual friend, that Rowena had moved to a small town in France, working as a waitress in a cafe. Lysander had indeed left her for a younger woman, and she was struggling to make ends meet. While a part of me felt a pang of sympathy, I knew that she had made her choices, and she was now living with the consequences. I, on the other hand, had found true happiness, a love that was built on honesty and mutual respect. It was a stark reminder that while betrayal can shatter your world, it doesn't have to define it. You have the power to rebuild, to heal, and to find a love that is even more beautiful than the one you lost. I often think about the lessons I learned from that dark chapter of my life. The importance of trust, the pain of betrayal, and the resilience of the human spirit. I also learned that sometimes the greatest revenge is not revenge at all, but rather moving on and finding happiness. And that's exactly what I did. So, if you're reading this and you're going through a similar situation, know that you're not alone. It's okay to grieve, to feel angry, and to question everything you thought you knew. But don't let the betrayal define you. Use it as an opportunity to grow, to learn, and to become a stronger, more resilient version of yourself. And remember, there is always hope for a future filled with love, happiness, and the promise of a new beginning. It's been several years since I discovered Rowena's affair and the one-way ticket that shattered my world. I've rebuilt my life, found love again, and learned valuable lessons about trust and resilience. Rowena's betrayal was a painful experience, but it ultimately led me to a place of greater happiness and fulfillment. I hope my story can offer some comfort and encouragement to anyone going through a similar situation. Remember, you are not alone, and there is always hope for a brighter future. This story is about the pain of betrayal, the strength to rebuild, and the possibility of finding love again after heartbreak. It's a reminder that even in the darkest of times, there is always hope for a brighter future. Thank you for listening, and remember to stay strong and never give up on the possibility of finding happiness again. Alaric out.